Hi, this is Tom Metzger, your host for Race and Reason again, that longest-running show of its type on cable access TV. Seen around the country on many local cable access systems, and those cable access systems serve many times 3, 4, sometimes 5 towns and cities. And we're dedicated, of course, to freedom of speech, true freedom of speech, which upsets some of our opposition. We feel we're at island of free speech in a sea of controlled and managed news, and if you don't think news and so forth is controlled, only 26 corporations control all the media in the United States. So today we have a very interesting guest who has been on the show before. His name is Nicholas Schreck, and he has a musical group and organization called Radio Werewolf that he terms a musical terrorist organization, and he's also a revisionist writer who has written a book called The Study of Charles Manson. Nice to have you here.
Always a pleasure
Nicholas.
to be here, Tom. How are you?
What's been happening to Nicholas Schreck since the last time we met?
Well, we're entering phase 2 of Radio Werewolf's operation for world dominion, and what we're waging is a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. What we're trying to do is bring back a resurgence of the Western European tradition that has been all but lost in the world. And we're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man, because the wolf is a symbol of Western European power and fury, and that's why we use the werewolf imagery.
Now you have used what you had termed neo-Gothic music in the past.
Well, Gothic, of course, is a Germanic tribe, and there's a spirit to the Western people that is unique in the world, and it is a Gothic spirit, and I think that's the purest form of Western culture, and I think we keep that flame alive in Radio Werewolf.
I understand you're talking about the evolution of this, that your music is getting more into the political...
Well, our music, well, I wouldn't say political, because we transcend politics. Politics is merely the puppet show of human beings, and we transcend that, but we are interested in the control of human beings for our own purposes.
You have a symbol on your left arm here. Could you sort of scoot over? What is this?
This is the 13th rune in the ancient runic alphabet of the Norse people, and it represents Yggdrasil, the tree of life, and this is the meeting point between life and death.
Is that the tree that Odin was supposed to have been crucified on?
Exactly, and it's the tree that symbolically supports the universe. And the wolf's angle symbol we use as the symbol for the Abraxas Foundation, which is sort of a Thule society for the 90s. In the words of my collaborator Boyd Rice, it's a fascist occult think tank. And what we're doing is coming up with new strategies and techniques to bring this cultural renaissance into the future, into the 90s.
I notice you have a wolf's ring on your finger there.
Well, as I've explained, the wolf has always been a particularly Western European image, and the wolf represents the beast in man. That's what we seek to unleash in humanity, because it's been repressed and tamed by Judeo-Christian values, and that above all is what we seek to eradicate. The wolf should be unleashed. We can hearken back to Norse mythology, where Fenris, the ancient wolf god, was unleashed upon the world, and the Götterdämmerung occurred, the Ragnarok, the end of the world. And symbolically, that is what we are undergoing right now in history, an end of the old order, an end of the old world, and the beginning of a new order.
The end of the economic determinist idea and moving towards race and culture?
Of every idea, of every traditional idea of the past. In my opinion, we're living in a dead world. All the traditions of the past are decadent, dead, corrupt, and anyone who continues to cling to them are like maggots clinging to a corpse.
So the music today, you would see it as...
Music of today is absolute swill. It's designed to keep young people passive, restrained, and it's designed to tame them and keep them into sort of domestic sheep. I would separate young people today into two breeds. There's predators, which are the wolves, and there are the sheep, and that's most of them. And we appeal to an elite. We are, frankly, an elitist organization. We seek a few excellent people. We don't want a lot of dross. We don't want a lot of mediocre followers. What we want are people who are capable of action.
Do you see a lot of, do you see some elements of what you're talking about in other music that's...
I think the skinhead movement is a very positive step away from the decadence of the rock and drug culture that has dominated the youth so much. But as Adolf Hitler said, we seek to bring about a youth that has closed its heart to pity. All of the humanist values that Judeo-Christianity has encouraged, we want to wipe them out. It's led to democracy, social humanism, the idea of equality. All of this filth has to be wiped out if the human race is going to continue to take the next step in evolution.
What do you believe that would be like if you were in control, as far as your attitudes towards your own people?
Well, we are in control because basically we are not a political organization, we are an occult organization. We're working behind the scenes to manipulate the way that people think. The war that we are waging is a guerrilla war on the human mind. And we use musical frequencies, the dominant frequency, which I've referred to before, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind.
Isn't it difficult to get club dates and things like that, obviously, once...
Well, we no longer are working in the context of that whole sphere of activities. We are moving into a much more elitist direction. We're only seeking individuals who are competent and who are willing to take action. There's a lot of people who will be an audience or a spectator, but we want people who will act.
And so the Abraxas Foundation's been for some time? Or?
The Abraxas Foundation is an organization that Boyd Rice and myself founded, and it's dedicated to bringing about the values which we consider true and determined by the natural order. And in our opinion, humanity has moved away from nature, and race mixing, genetic suicide, the destruction of the gene pool, all of that is completely inimical to the natural order. We need to return to order.
Is this, could this parallel somewhat Nietzscheism and Nietzsche?
Well, Nietzsche was certainly a forerunner of our thinking because basically we're concerned with evolution, maintaining the very best of humanity and destroying weakness, destroying everything that Judeo-Christianity has succored and kept alive. We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people. We're not seeking to convert people. As far as I'm concerned, in 1988, this is the cutting point. Either you're with us now or you never will be with us.
What do you think about writers like, say, Oswald Spengler writing A Decline of the West, the cycles of civilization?
I very much believe we are now in a cycle of order. The 60s, 20 years ago, represented a cycle of decay, and since my message is directly intended for young people, I would say it's about time that young people move away from the corrupt values of the 60s, the drug culture, race mixing, equality. The whole chaos of that period is ending, and we're going to see a new social movement in the 90s that will make Nazism and fascism look like kindergarten.
I mean, do I have to say anything else? I mean, we could all go home. He just said it all. How out in the open is that? How few people you think saw that interview? Like only had a couple hundred views on YouTube. You know? That's how openly they talk amongst themselves. And if you think in a public interview they're talking that open, imagine some of the things I heard behind closed doors. Imagine some of the things Jay Parker heard in a generational bloodline family of psychopaths like that. They're very open about their agenda, folks. And, you know, they're very openly fascist and racist as well, you know. Said he wants to make Nazi Germany look like, you know, a party. So today's show is called Our Entire Society is One Big Satanic Ritual. That's a heavy-duty title for a show, but I want to qualify this and explain what I mean by this. And most people don't know what Satanism is, folks, still to this day. It's been one of the cruxes of my work because this is my background. It's where I came from, okay? I made no bones about it when I was first starting What on Earth is Happening. And, this was the issue that I looked at and debated and kind of bounced around in my own mind when I was first getting ready to go on the airwaves with just an audio version of the show that you're watching today. And back when, I got, the start in just basic internet radio broadcasting, I was just considering, am I going to tell people about my background in the dark occult? Am I going to tell people that I was involved in Satanism through the Church of Satan and other ancillary satanic organizations? Am I going to tell them what I saw behind the scenes, the kind of people that were involved, the kind of levels of power that they were entrenched in? Or am I just going to, try to teach the form of spirituality that I've been teaching here on What on Earth is Happening since the beginning and not mention that dark background? Because who knows what kind of, ideas that would put into people's heads about the kind of individual that I am. And I made the decision that no, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to try to shy away from my past, that I was going to openly tell people what I had been involved with, because I wanted to explain to them the transformative process in the mind and in spirituality that I went through personally as an individual, as a human being. And I think it was probably the best decision that I ever made, not to delay in telling people that, to explain to them that I had experience in the dark occult. Admittedly, low-level experience. I hear all these people saying that somehow I have stated that I was some sort of a high-up-ranking member or I hear the term thrown around, high priest. The words never left my mouth. You cannot find any video or audio that I have ever spoken the term one time that I was a high-ranking official or a high-ranking member of any of the organizations I belong to, nor was I ever a high priest. I was appointed the title or rank of priest by itself, nothing before or after it. That is the rank within the organization called the Church of Satan, which was formerly run and headed by Anton LaVey, who started it back in 1966, who was the high priest until the year of his death in 1997. Okay? He appointed me himself to the rank of priest in the year 1996 in that organization. Okay? That's the only claim that I've ever made about any rank in any organization that I've ever held. Okay, I've never said I was high up. I never said I was a high priest of any organization. But I was involved in the dark occult. I was involved in Satanism. I was involved as the rank of priest in the satanic organization called the Church of Satan. I held that rank. Okay? I want to let people see right from the horse's mouth. I'm going to go to the Church of Satan's official website right now in real time. Let's switch back to the computer. I brought up the Church of Satan. This is www.churchofsatan.com. Okay? This is the official website of the Church of Satan. This is an organization that I was a priest within. Again, the other thing I hear people saying all the time is that I've ever claimed to be a high priest of any aspect of Satanism. You will not find me ever in any footage, in any audio, ever using the term, I was a high priest. I was never a high priest of anything. I was appointed to the rank of priest, the simple rank of priest within the Church of Satan. That is one of their ranks in their ranking system, in their hierarchical system, in the Church of Satan. That is what my rank was when I was a member as Reverend Mark Rokar, which is my assumed name that I took in the dark occult, in Satanism. which I've gone over in my presentation called Occult Mockery of Police and Military Personnel, and I've also gone over extensively in my presentation called Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult. But people want to talk out their ass and not look at the data. That's what they do. They form an incorrect opinion based on their beliefs, don't look at the actual data, and then claim to be right. And then say that they're somehow researchers and they know what's going on when they can't even think properly because they have a burnt fucking brain. Right on the Church of Satan's homepage, okay, you can click. I'm going to show you where to click. You go right here to Frequently Asked Questions. This button right here, FAQ, which stands for Frequently Asked Questions. Click that button. This will take you to a page called Church of Satan Frequently Asked Questions. If you scroll down on that page, it will give you a list of FAQ topics. Okay? There's something called Internet Presence, Press, and Student. Fundamental Beliefs is number 3, and they go on and on with other topics up through 21 topics. Okay? I want to call people's attention to link number 3 on the Church of Satan's Frequently Asked Questions list. If you click that link, Fundamental Beliefs, it will take you to the FAQ on fundamental beliefs of the Church of Satan. The first question asked is, why do Satanists worship the devil? And the answer from the Church of Satan is, verbatim, quote, we don't. Satanists are atheists. We see the universe as being indifferent to us. And so all morals and values are subjective human constructions. This is the first and second tenets of Satanism. Their God and morals are subjective, moral relativism. Now listen, let's keep going. Our position is to be self-centered. I'm going to highlight this. Our position is to be self-centered, with ourselves being the most important person or the God of our subjective universe. So we are sometimes said to worship ourselves. Our current high priest, Peter Gilmore, calls this step moving from being an atheist to being an I-theist. Satan to us is a symbol of pride, liberty, and individualism, and it serves as an external metaphorical projection of our highest personal potential. We do not believe in Satan as a being or person. What more proof does any asshole need? Because see, what it's coming from, folks, is people who don't want to know the truth. It's coming from people who want to say, my religion has it right. Fuck you. I don't want to hear your research. I don't want to hear your knowledge. I want to hear what my pastor down on the church corner says about it. And listen to his jackass opinion on it. When he's an uninformed dupe that knows less than nothing because he has an ill-informed, unread, uneducated opinion and belief about it instead of actual knowledge about it. You don't know what you're talking about, scum. Because that's what you are. Religious believing scumbag. Is it an ad hominem attack? You're damn right it is. Because an ad hominem attack can say the truth about a person. It has nothing to do with what I'm saying regarding the truth about what real Satanism in the world, the real satanic ideology that runs the world is all about. Because that's it right there. This is it right there. That's it right on the screen. Okay? Look right there on the screen. That's what real Satanism is, boys and girls. And they're all too happy to tell you publicly. Right on their own site, in their own frequently asked questions section, corroborating exactly what I've been trying to explain to you about what Satanism is for the last 12 fucking years. Because these people aren't even covert about it. And let me tell you something. This is the ideology behind the whole political slavery system. This is the ideology behind the whole slavery banking system. This is the ideology behind all the other satanic aspects of our society that I talked about for a damn 6 hours over the last 2 weeks. So, don't take my word for it. Hear it right from the horse's mouth itself. Okay? I just wanted to say that. And want to thank the people for posting that, bringing it to my attention in certain social media posts for putting that out there for others to say, here it is, exactly what he's saying is exactly the way that it is. And you can go on and on, just read their literature, just read their books, go read LaVey's writings, go read the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Rituals, the Devil's Notebook, all the other works from LaVey, the book The Church of Satan, by I don't know whether that was Gilmore or it might have been Aquino. I'm not really certain. Go read the Ruby Tablet of Set from Michael Aquino. Go read, all the other works from the Temple of Set and Michael Aquino. It'll corroborate exactly what I'm saying. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying. It's all out there publicly. But what you have out there are bullshitter, fake-ass Christians that just believe their Bible-thumping version of reality. That's all they care about. And what they're doing is a disservice to humanity by trying to tell people this is about going in the forest in black robes and sacrificing some dogs and worshiping the devil. Worshiping the devil! Yeah, that's what it's about. You're a smack jackass who doesn't know what you're talking about, punk. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I was involved in it and you weren't. And you weren't. You just think you know. And you don't know ass. I'm just coming out and saying it just like it is in plain street language because I'm fed the fuck up. If you can't tell. So, Satanism is absolutely not what most people believe it is. They have a belief about it, but they do not have any direct experiential knowledge of it, nor do most people have any correct, even book knowledge or secondhand knowledge of it. They just believe what they've been told, and they believe what they've seen in Hollywood depictions and variations of Satanism. But they don't know what Satanism really is in the real world as a worldwide religion of the elite ruling class that is really ruling over all of society. This is the religion of the master class, of the ruling class. That's what it really is. Okay? And it's the methodology and psychology which allows them to keep rulership of the planet, to keep ruling over other people who are dwelling in abject ignorance. So Satanism is actually an ancient occult religion. It is a religion based on occult ideologies and occult knowledge. Satanism is an ancient occult religion comprised of diverse, interconnected networks of worldwide adherents. Now, let me just break down that sentence for a moment, okay? It's an occult religion, meaning it comprises... What comprises it is hidden knowledge about how the human psyche and the laws of the universe function that they don't want people to know, because that knowledge differential maintains their power differential. It is comprised of a diverse network of people. Everybody thinks it's all just rich white men. Wrong. Incorrect. It's not just all rich white men. It is every single ostensible background of people, every single ostensible religious background, every race, every male and female sexes, even every social strata and income. It's not just the rich. It's not just men. It's young and old alike. It's men and women alike. It's white people, black people, brown people, Asian people, Native American. You name the culture, race, ostensible religion, background, gender, it does not matter. There are people involved from every single walk of life. Okay? That's a big misconception of the people in the ruling class, is that they're all just rich or they're all just white. Untrue. Absolutely untrue. And it's not just ruled from one place. There are members from every single country on the earth involved in this network, because every country has to be controlled. They have their tentacles throughout all of society. And it's interconnected networks. It's not one group. Everybody wants to go, oh, it's just the Freemasons, it's just the Rosicrucians, it's just the Jesuits, it's just the Zionists. No, wrong, incorrect. You don't know what you're talking about, if that's how you think about this. And, you know, people don't want to hear that. They want to think their worldview is correct. They want to think that they have it figured out. They want to think that they figured it out. One group controls it all. Well, let me tell you something. If any one group controls it all, it's the high-level religious organizations that are ultimately controlling the spirituality of the masses of people, of billions of people. So it's the religious organizations that ostensibly run organized religions. The Vatican, high-level rabbis in the Jewish religion, high-level imams in the Islamic religion. You want to know who the real high-level dark occult Satanists and Luciferians are? They operate enthroned behind the scenes of ostensible world religion. That's who they are. They're not just behind the banking institution. They're behind that as well, and behind politics, which we're going to talk a lot about. But folks, let me tell you something. They operate through religion, most of all and foremost, because it's all religion. Everything that holds humanity back is religion. The very word religion means to hold back, to thwart from forward progress. And this is a religion, and it is comprised of a diverse, interconnected network of worldwide adherents. It's not just run out of one place. It's worldwide. At its ideological core, now listen to what I'm saying here. Really focus on the words I'm using. I structure this and choose the words very carefully and specifically. At its ideological core, the heart of this religion, this is the main principle or tenet by which it operates. This religion, Satanism, postulates that knowledge of the human psyche and knowledge of the laws of the universe should be occulted, meaning hidden from the general population and held only by a few human beings. That's them. That's the master class or the master race that they consider themselves. It is much more accurate to perceive Satanists and dark occultists in general as ancient psychologists who hold and wield hidden information in ways which exploit those who remain ignorant of it. So I always give the analogy, imagine if a master psychologist found out that a young man around 19 years old was having an affair with his wife, with his trophy wife, who wasn't interested in him anymore, but wanted a young buck, and started having an affair with an attractive 19-year-old male. If the very, very advanced, powerful psychologist who knows everything there is to know about the mind and how it can be manipulated wanted to exact revenge on this person and try to befriend him, not even letting on that he knew about the relationship, he could try to find out where he lived, go, pretend to befriend him, and then what kind of a number could that psychologist do psychologically on that individual that he hates because of his involvement with his wife, when that individual knows nothing about the master methods of psychology that psychologist would wield upon him. So therefore he has no protection against those mental and psychological techniques. I would suggest that he could devastate that individual if he were to get into his confidence. And that is what Satanism is, folks. It's ancient psychology wielded for the purpose of controlling the masses who know nothing about how their own psyche actually works. Through the power differential they gain by way of manipulating those who remain in ignorance of this critical hidden knowledge. So again, the knowledge differential that they have with the general population is easily convertible to a power differential in the real world. See, knowledge isn't power itself. Knowledge applied becomes power in the world. And these ancient psychologists have applied that knowledge and converted it to a power differential with others. They've become the powerful, and other people have been at their mercy and remained largely powerless in the world because they don't know what the ruling class master psychologists know. That's what Satanism is. So through the power differential they've gained through this knowledge differential, this small minority who are quote unquote in the know wish to rule the masses of humanity permanently and effectively become God on earth. That is their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is to put the general human population into abject bondage, into slavery, and become God on earth. Their version of ruling hell, because they would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. The quote from John Milton's Paradise Lost, which is an analogy or an allegory about this ruling class dynamic. So they see earth as a prison because natural law is in place, and they don't want it to be. They don't want to be bound by the rules of morality. They want to be able to do whatever they want, no matter who it hurts. They want to define what right and wrong is, instead of having right and wrong existing as inherent qualities of nature, objectively. No, they don't want that. They want relativism, relative right and wrong, that they define, that they arbitrarily decide for themselves, at their whim and at their preference. So that's their goal. They want to be God on earth. That's what this is all about. That's what this whole slavery society is about. A small group of people that wants to be God. But see, they give us that ideology, which we're going to talk about. It is important to understand that contrary to popular belief, and this is one that I continually fight people on, they don't want to hear it. They want to believe they're right. It doesn't matter what somebody from the inside has said. They've heard it. They believe it. It doesn't matter how in error they are. They're in negative knowledge about this. And I keep trying to explain it to people, and people want to call me a show for explaining how this ideology really works. Okay? But I'm going to give you the straight shit and tell you how it really is. Contrary to popular belief, which is much easier for people to accept, the overwhelmingly vast majority of Satanists do not, quote unquote, worship an externalized deity known as Satan in the Christian tradition. Satanism is not about the veneration and worship of the Christian devil, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I don't know how many people I've said that to, and that somehow disqualifies me as being a source of accurate information, because they've talked to their pastor or their priest or congregation in their church, and Satanism's about worshiping the devil, you know, and nothing will dissuade them from that. And it's a kindergarten worldview of how things really work in the real world. It's a nursery school worldview. Forget kindergarten. It's nursery school shit. Okay? These people, if they worship anything, they worship themselves. Because they see themselves as God. God, the devil, Satan, everything. Nature. They see themselves as the creator, that they'll make everything in their likeness and image. That's how runaway their ego is. Okay? So forget the even concept of worship in this religion. It's about putting the ego on the pedestal, and the ego will become God, if we're being accurate. See, people always talk nonsense because they haven't been involved from a first-hand experiential perspective. And so they just want to talk about what they believe it is instead of what it really is from a first-hand experiential point of view. So they don't really worship Satan. Now, I'm not saying some of them don't look at it as an actual entity or a force in nature that they try to align themselves to. Some do. But let me tell you something, folks. Overwhelmingly, that is not really part of the worldview of most Satanists. Most Satanists see Satan as the ego, the self, etc. That's it. So, instead, they see Satanism as an ideological way of being in the world. And they view the ego-driven self as the quote-unquote God of their religion. That is absolutely the case and is absolutely accurate to the extent that I understand how Satanism is structured from being a priest within its ranks. This is the core ideological position of the satanic religion or the old religion. So I call these the four main tenets of modern Satanism. The first is egotism. It is stated in Satanism as self-preservation is the highest law, meaning whatever you must do to get ahead, to put yourself in a better position than your fellow men and women, do it. It doesn't matter whether it's immoral, it doesn't matter whether it counteracts other people's rights or that it brings them down. You put yourself in a higher position in regard to your fellow men and women, no matter how you have to do it. Because you're God. You're king and queen, above all else. Not on equality or equal footing under natural law and rights. No, you're special. You're better. You have to be number one. You have to be cutthroat in the dog-eat-dog world that you live in. So what I boil it down to is, it means that service to self is life's highest goal. Forget service to others, and especially forget service to truth. That's meaningless in Satanism. Satanism is all about service to self as being life's highest aspiration. And anybody who thinks that is a Satanist de facto. You know, these people we could call the de jure Satanists. They're the ones who are actually acting it out in the world, becoming members of the network hierarchy, the religious institutions that will carry out these goals. But guess what? You can be a de facto Satanist, meaning a Satanist in deed, in action, in thought. And that's what most of the world is, folks. This is what we have to understand about this whole thing. Where I'm going with this is that all of our society is a big satanic ritual because the overwhelmingly vast proportion of our society has been ideologically converted at a low level to the ideology of Satanism. That's where we're at in the world. Most people operate at a satanic ideology in their mind and don't even know it. They're de facto Satanists without even knowing that they're subscribing to the satanic religion. I call them mini-me Satanists, after the whole character of Dr. Evil making a small clone of himself in the Austin Powers, the comedy trilogy of Austin Powers, that he called Mini-Me, which looks like him, but it's a small variant of him. Well, they're making people into mini-me Satanists worldwide. They're giving them a lower level ideology of the old religion and getting them to subscribe to it on a societal scale. So the number one thing, and all you have to do is just think about the world's worldview, the worldview of most of the people of the world. Is it service to others and service to truth above all else? Or is it service to self above all else? Just think about it from that level. Are most people egotists who are only concerned with living their own lives and doing whatever they can to put themselves in a better position in life all day long, 24 hours a day, from the minute they wake up till the minute they go to bed at night? Is that the majority of the worldview of the people of this world? You better damn well believe it is. If you're being honest with yourself, you better damn well believe that. Accept that, because that's true. That's what's going on. So that's all we have to do is look at society and be honest about what we see. Is most of society egotistical? Are they in the satanic ideology of egotism? Only worrying about themselves and caring about themselves? Stop lying to yourself if you're saying that's not the case, because it 100% absolutely is. And we're talking about a good 95 to 98% of this species. And I'm being generous. So that's the number one tenet that Satanism as a religion teaches. Service to self is life's highest goal and aspiration. Take care of you and your own, and don't worry about what's happening with other people. That's what's gotten us into this mess. That's why we remain enslaved, is because people don't care about what's going on with the rights of all people. Got in a conversation with somebody this week and told them that the real money of the ruling elite, the Satanists and dark occultists that run the world, is the trafficking of children. You think people go, oh, their real money is gold. They don't use the fiat currency system. You know, their real money is precious metal, and their ultimate real money is gold. Bullshit. Bullshit. Their real money is children. Is small children that they enact horrific acts of torture and pedophilia upon. That's their real core aspect of their religion, and that's their real monetary system. And people think they know what's going on in this world. They know how the elite operate. They know how the masters of the world operate. And their money is gold. Their money is children. That's their monetary system. The second tenet of modern Satanism as a ideology, and again, this is the compressed version of their ideology. This is what has it has come down through the centuries, and these have become the main four crystallized tenets at work in this worldview, in this ideology. The second is moral relativism. This is the concept that right and wrong are whatever human beings say they are. If we're really boiling what moral relativism is down to its core aspect. Right and wrong, humans get to make that up. Those are human constructs. They don't exist in nature. That's not part of the laws of the universe. Those are constructs that man gets to make up. And you know how many jackasses out there still believe that shit? Tons and tons of fucking jackasses right in the freedom movement believe that shit. They're moral relativists. They believe right and wrong come from man, and they're damn certain of it. And they're all too proud to tell you. Right and wrong are human constructs. Humans make that shit up. We just apply that. Doesn't exist in nature. There's no such thing as natural law. And they think they're going to be free. Wow. You're a sorry sack of shit if that's what you think. I have to just say it honestly and openly in street language to people. And guess what? I'll say it right to your face. You're a dumb, sorry sack of shit if that's what you think. If that's what you believe. You know what you really are? You're a Satanist. You're a Satanist. You're a Satanist if that's how you think. Indeed. In thought, in action. A de facto Satanist who doesn't even know that they are espousing satanic ideology from the satanic religion. And guess what? That's the majority of the anarchist movement, who believe erroneously that they can be a moral relativist and ever be free. If you think that rights come from human beings, then you, by definition, must also believe, by definition, that human beings can change the definition of right and wrong whenever they see fit to, at their preference or at their whim. By definition. That was one of my slides in one of my past presentations when I talked about moral relativism. And I put a big Baphomet symbol behind it because that is the core ideology of Satanism. Human beings make up what right and wrong are. Therefore, if we decide we want to change what rights are, we can change them at any given time. We want to turn a right into a wrong, that's perfectly our right to do that. We want to turn a wrong into a right, we can do it whenever we feel like it. Because guess what? We made them up. Right and wrong are things we made up. And guess what, folks? It's not just them. It's their mini-me minions out there in the truth movement, in the freedom movement, in the anarchist movement. And you're sorry sacks of dumbass shit. And come and see me and I'll tell you that right to your face. Based on you thinking that man makes up rights. Because you're such an atheist smacked ass that you're so opposed to the idea that there is a force more powerful than you that puts law into effect in creation, that you want to associate true spirituality and the true laws of the universe with bullshit religion. In your little tiny pea-brain mind where you can't see a higher power and a higher force as having nothing to do with world religion. Because that's also a bunch of sack of shit ideology, just as much as moral relativism is. But your mind isn't advanced enough. Your psychology isn't advanced enough to think outside of that two-dimensional thinking, out of that dialectical thinking. Because you don't have the trivium in hand. You don't have truth discovery methodology in hand and in mind. Your mind isn't sophisticated enough for that. And maybe your intellect quotient is just in the shitter in addition to that. Maybe it's just you just don't have the intellectual acumen to process that and come to an accurate understanding. Doesn't matter how much you know about anything else. If you don't understand that rights don't come from man and we can't change what right and wrong are because it's based on whether behavior causes harm or not, you have no actual intelligence. And I'm not the person who's going to sugarcoat it and go, well, you know, maybe you should reevaluate. No, I'm going to tell you you're a dumb sack of shit to your face. I'm tired and done with it. I'm done with it. In case people can't see this from the past few episodes, folks, I'm at my wit's end. I'm at my absolute snapping point when it comes to any tolerance or any kind of giving leeway and making any kind of excuses for people who think like this. Because there are no excuses for them. They're a sorry excuse. But that's what moral relativism, that's the second main tenet of the satanic ideology, that right and wrong are just man-made constructs and we could change them whenever we feel like. This, of course, an out-of-control ego believing that they get to make up what right and wrong are, inevitably leads to tenets 3 and 4. Tenets 1 and 2 are the basis. Tenets 3 and 4 are the social expressions of the ideological foundations of egotism and moral relativism. You put those in place and they harden and crystallize in the individual ego, and you invariably lead to the societal outcomes in tenet 3 and tenet 4, which is social Darwinism and eugenics. Tenet number 3 in Satanism is social Darwinism. And this basically postulates the most dominant and cruel human beings should become the masters of humanity and rule over the masses of humanity. That's what social Darwinism essentially postulates. Your mindset and your genetics got you there, therefore you should become the master race and rule over the rest of the unwashed hordes. That's called social Darwinism. It's applying vicious animal behavior and taking it and extruding it through the human domain. It's a smacked-ass ideology even in the animal kingdom, because Darwin was incorrect and his theory of macrobiological evolution is wrong, not borne out in the science, not borne out in the fossil record, and people still religiously cling to that as a religion, when in fact it has never been proven to be the case, and never will. And those same people won't look at human intervention theory, or as I call it, human interference theory, because that's too horrifying to contemplate. That's what it really comes down to. You want to know what it really comes down to? It's not that there's no evidence to support it. There's tons of evidence to support it. What it comes down to when it comes to that, folks, as a brief aside, is the mindset of the people is just too weak to take it in. That's all it really comes down to. They're not hardened enough as true men and true women to acknowledge the horror of the real human situation. Because this is a fucking zoo run by a Type 2 civilization. You want to know what Earth really is? It's a hell, a prison, a zoo run by a Type 2 civilization that is unseen. That's the real horror that we're in. If the truth be told. If we're being honest with ourselves. But you know how many men and women can tolerate that in this actual psyche and bear to look at the plain, vicious, naked truth of that? A piss poor pittance. A piss poor pittance. That's how many. So going back to these tenets, social Darwinism is that the most cruel can just rule the roost because, hey, they scratched and clawed their way to get there, and animals do that, and so we should emulate animals because we're just another animal. That's what that theory postulates. That's what's that tenet postulates. And then once you have those three in place, it's a hop, skip, and a jump, or I should say it's just a very steep descent down the chute to eugenics. And I have it listed here as eugenics and epi-eugenics. And note, people, please note, folks, this is not epigenetics. This is epi-eugenics. Okay? It's classical eugenics, which means the masters should determine who is allowed to live and breed and who must die. Population control and reduction. Gene pool control. Eugenics is the direct means through violence, through chemical means, etc. And epi-eugenics is population control, genetic control through mind control. It is mind controlling the existing population to get them to cull themselves and cull characteristics out of their own gene pool through mind control and mind-controlled selective breeding. I've done an entire presentation on it called The Unholy Feminine because it works through the female members of our society who largely control which male members of society will be allowed to propagate their genes and which will not. So the Satanists target the females of our society because they know that's how gene propagation works in any given society, through the females. So that presentation is subtitled, it's called The Unholy Feminine, and the subtitle is Neo-Feminism and the Satanic Epi-Eugenics Agenda. One of the presentations I'm actually most proud of. And also, it's one that, let me tell you something, folks. You know who comments on and compliments me more on that presentation than any other class of people? Women. I have received more positive comments on that presentation from women than men who've ever mentioned it to me. From women who really want to understand how the social engineers have specifically targeted them. And I have been thanked and given positive feedback and comments on that presentation by many, many, many more women than men have ever mentioned it to me. Because again, it's who wants to confront the horror. It's very similar to people not wanting to understand cosmic abandonment because they don't want to understand the horror contained within that truth. The same thing when it comes to the mind control over women in our society. If you really understand how tight it is, it's a horror. I mean, I go to freedom-oriented meetings of concerned citizen groups in this city, and men will say to me, why aren't there ever any women here? The 2 or 3 women that ever show up at any of these meetings are personal friends of mine. That's it. That's it. Because I promote it and try to bring them out and alert them to when the meetings come up. But hardly any women ever come out to any freedom-oriented groups. Why is that? Women don't want to be free? And the answer is largely, no, they don't. That's the sad part of the society, the sad fact of the matter of the society that we live in now. And when men ask me, I'm very, very harsh, and I say right to them, I say right to their face, the reason there aren't most women here isn't because, oh, it's just they don't like the type of men that show up at these things, or because they don't, understand what we're talking about. It's because most women have been brainwashed and mind controlled into not wanting freedom. Most. Not a blanket statement. When it's a blanket statement, I'll say it. But the majority, 100%, absolutely, the majority have been conditioned into that state of mind control. And when I say that, guys there don't want to hear it. They're like, that's a sexist statement. No, it isn't. That's the truth of what's going on in social engineering in our world that you don't want to confront. You don't want to understand that the think tanks who are mind control masters have set society up like that. And that's why there's no women at your damn meetings. That's epi-eugenics. That's controlling the gene pool by mind controlling the population into controlling the gene pool, because you don't have enough people to do it directly. Doesn't matter how much poison you put in the air, the water, the food, the medicine, etc. So some are going to slip through your fingers, and you're not going to get the exact results that you want, because that's a crapshoot when you do it chemically too. You want to do that, you have to do it through mind-controlled selective breeding, and that's where epi-eugenics comes in. And you also have the option of classical eugenics, which is directly wiping out populations through war and other means. Folks, these are the four main tenets of Satanism, regardless of what anyone will tell you. That's the crystallized, coalesced, and very much compacted tenets of the modern satanic religion. And again, I want to make very clear here, we are talking about this as Satanism in the modern day. Because it wasn't called Satanism, it really never was really called Satanism until the modern day. Okay, this ideology was coalesced and compressed into the satanic ideology and called that when Anton LaVey wrote the Satanic Bible. He was charged to do this. He was a friend of the Bush family, or many people feel that they were the serfs of Germany, connected with the Guelphs, connected with the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, the Windsors of England, etc. But LaVey was asked to put out to the public, to the masses, the coalesced version of the satanic ideology in the Satanic Bible. And I am crystallizing these tenets and compacting them for people's understanding, not only from the modern writings of Satanism from both Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan, and also from Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set, the writings he has put forward, and other satanic organizations. But I am compacting this and crystallizing it from my personal experience in the dark occult, myself, from an experiential point of view.